Hey, it's Rachel with Be Healed Dog Training, and I'm a balanced trainer that specializes in remote collar training. So I've put together a video here as kind of an introduction to remote collars, and we're going to show how to find the working level on a remote collar. But I just wanted to start by talking a little bit more about what a remote collar is, in case you're new to this, or in case you're just looking into remote collars for the first time, or more importantly, in case you are looking into remote collars after coming across some bad information. There's a lot of really bad information out there about remote collars. There's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of lies. So I am here to tell you the truth about remote collars. They are incredible training tools, and you will get incredible results when you use them appropriately in the way that they're intended to be used. So the remote that we tend to use the most is the Mini Educator by eCollar Technologies. This is a really wonderful, high quality remote. And the way that this remote works, and the reason that I choose this over others, is this works as a muscle stimulator, not as a shocking device, which that is one of the biggest misconceptions out there about remote collars. Not all remote collars are shocking dogs. Yes, there are remote collars out there that do shock more like an electric fence type feel, but that's not at all how this collar works. This collar works like a TENS unit. It has 100 different levels on this particular collar. So that's 100 different levels that you can work with depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve. So the large majority of the work we do is at low levels, and the dog's working level is actually typically lower than what we can even feel as humans. On me, my working level is usually about an 8. Typically from an 8 to a 12 is when I can start to feel the collar, and to me it just feels like a tingle or like something's touching me. My own personal dogs work at a 2 and a 4. So we're talking really low level stuff. The idea behind the low level training is when you are teaching something new to the dog, for example, the down command, you're using low levels to communicate instantly with the dog and what you're trying to teach it. So when I'm teaching down, I'll tell the dog down and I'll hold the collar on continuously, and the moment they complete the command, I release the button. So the idea is pressure on, pressure off. Give the command, there's the pressure of the collar. The moment they complete it, that pressure goes away. And so you're able to instantly communicate with your dog when they've done something correctly or when they haven't. Another benefit to the collar is we can use it for corrective measures, and even with that we have a wide range to work from as far as the levels. So for example, if my dog knows down and my dog understands down but decides not to do that, whether it's because they don't feel like doing it or they're distracted or excited by something, but I need them to go into it down, I can work from a corrective level. When we work at the corrective level, we're working at a higher level that's holding the dog accountable for what it knows. We're using the collar to apply a consequence for not completing a known behavior or for breaking command that the dog knows and understands. That's the key there. We're not using it to punish dogs that are still learning. We're using it as an appropriate punishment for a dog that's doing something that it knows it should not be doing or should be doing something else. So when I apply the collar in a way that applies a consequence, I'm using it in a momentary setting. So yes, I'm going up higher in the collar, but I'm just going to briefly apply a consequence. It allows me to be completely neutral in that situation, and that is what's so wonderful and why it helps your relationship with the dog. I can apply a consequence by doing, turn it down so my dog doesn't feel it, because yes, my dogs, I've got 4 dogs in here, they are all wearing remote collars right now. So if I don't want to apply a consequence, all I have to do is no, and that's it. No. I can keep myself completely neutral. There's no yelling, there's no screaming, there's no intimidating. It's just a simple no followed by a simple, brief consequence, and that's it. I can also use the collar if I need to give a very high level consequence, and that is saved for something that the dog is doing that's either dangerous to the dog and that can get the dog killed, or that can hurt somebody else. So for example, a dog that's taking something off the counter, that can get a dog killed. All it takes is the dog taking something off the counter that is dangerous, especially if your back is turned and you never know they did it, and that right there can get the dog killed, or you end up with a very expensive vet bill when you're having to take the dog in for surgery. And if I need to use a very high level consequence for that, I can go up high on the collar and again, tap a button. lets me stay completely neutral, gives a very powerful message to the dog, and they should never repeat that behavior again. So with this kind of training, it allows me to be very quiet or very loud, depending on what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, while myself as a person, as a trainer, as an owner, can stay completely calm, completely neutral. So I just wanted to start this video by talking about that and addressing those issues. There are a couple of the other misconceptions that you'll hear, that remote collars burn dogs. Not true. Not true. If you do see sores on a dog from wearing its remote collar, it has likely been wearing that collar for too long, or it's had a skin sensitivity or an allergic reaction to it, which they do make hypoallergenic contact points, and you're not supposed to leave these collars on and tight all day long. You're supposed to rotate the collar every 3 or 4 hours, so it'll be on one side of the neck, and if the dog needs to wear it for longer than that, after 3 or 4 hours, rotate it to the next side. They also make comfort pads that you can use for long-term use as well. So there are options out there, but if you see pictures or you hear stories about a dog that was burned from an e-collar, it's not possible. That is not a thing. It's not happening. That either happened from improper use or from a dog that had a reaction to it, and that can also be addressed as well. You'll also hear people say that remote collars are used to apply force, to intimidate, to scare the dog into submission, to shock the dog into submission. I heard somebody was accused of electrocuting their dog one time. It's a load of crap, guys. That is all such a load of crap. And if you want proof of how these collars are being used, and not in a way to intimidate dogs, and not in a way that are shutting dogs down, watch the videos on my YouTube channel. And I'm not the only one out there posting these things. There's a lot of really great trainers out there that are posting videos of dogs having incredible amounts of success on these collars. And that's why I put this out there to share with people, so that if you have maybe heard bad information before, you can see the truth behind it. Watch the dogs on my channel. You can see them being worked. You can see the results that we're getting, and these are dogs that are not only not shut down, they're extremely happy because they have clear expectations and because they're able to be off leash. How liberating is that? That now we've got dogs that can be outside, off leash, but in a safe, reliable way, because this basically acts like a leashless leash. This particular model has a half-mile range. I don't know about you, my dog's never going to be that far away from me, but they make models like this with even higher range. So it's a leash without tethering you to the dog or tethering the dog to you. So there's a lot of benefits to this. And one other note I want to mention about remote collars, another big misconception, is that you can't use these collars on aggressive dogs, and you shouldn't use them on anxious, nervous, fearful dogs. Both of those are completely untrue. Okay, I've seen tons and tons of examples of aggressive dogs that have been, their lives have been completely changed and turned around by good, appropriate e-collar training. Personally, I don't work with aggressive dogs right now, only because I'm not set up for it. I don't have the safety protocols in place, but I have seen it in person. I've seen it through videos. I've seen it at seminars, dogs whose lives have been changed by this training. So if you're struggling with an aggressive dog, don't discount this. This can probably be a lifesaver if you can find a good trainer that knows how to use it properly. Anxious, fearful dogs, I've worked a lot of dogs on e-collars and had incredible amounts of success with it. Also have videos on my YouTube channel that show that as well. So anyway, watch the video. We're going to show you where the e-collar goes on the dog, how to put it on, and how to find the dog's working level. I'm not going to show any training with remote collars in this video. This is just going to be an intro as far as how to put the collar on and also how to find the dog's working level. I do have other videos that show how to apply remote collar training to your training, and that's on my remote collar playlist on YouTube. And I'm going to start by showing you where we put the collar. It might be a little bit hard to see on her just because she's black and the collar's black, but basically what you want is you want for the receiver of the collar to sit on either side of the dog's neck. It is a muscle stimulator, so it's working these muscles that run down the sides of the dog's neck. And so it's going to go either on this side or this side. It should be up high and it should be very snug. If you're not making good contact with your contact points, you're not going to get consistent results when you're using the collar. So you want the collar to be very, very snug when you put it on. So you can see here, oh good, the little blinking light kind of helps. So the collar is going to sit just like this. If you're using your prong collar at the same time, your prong collar is going to sit up here, high and nice and snug. Okay, so that's how that's going to look. And again, it's sitting kind of just below their ear is about where that ends up sitting. And just remember that every dog is different. Every dog works at different levels. Your dog may work at a 3 and another dog may work at an 8. Some dogs work closer to 15. It just depends. It also depends a lot on the situation. So this dog's working level may be a 5 in the house and a 10 outside. It just depends on what's going on around the dog as well. So remember, the higher your distractions, typically the higher your levels go. Also remember, the longer that you work your dog on the collar and the more they get tuned into it, typically your levels are going to drop. So it's pretty normal for you to work at one level one day and it might be a little lower the next day, or over time you'll see those levels go down. So this is something you don't want to get stuck on the number. You want to let it be pretty fluid, but you do find basically what the dog is working on so that you've got a general idea of where to start. If your dog is typically working around a 5, then there's no reason to try to use the collar at a 2 or to turn it up to a 10. So that's why we're doing what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm starting at a 1, I've got the collar, I'm going to put it behind my back and press the button several times. I don't want her reacting to the sound of the button. The button does make a clicking sound that sometimes will get their attention, and it's hard to tell if they're reacting to that clicking or if they're reacting to an actual stim on their neck. So what I'm doing while I'm talking to you is I'm pressing the button a few times, and I'm going up one level at a time and watching her face for any signs that she's feeling the collar. And I'm purposefully talking while I'm doing this, again, so that she's not hearing what I'm doing and isn't expecting. Now there was a little bit of a head tilt when I pressed the button, so we're going to try that again. I think she may have felt that. We'll go up one more and see. So again, I'm just tap, tap, there. Did you see her look down at her neck? So she definitely felt that. See her ear twitch there? Tap, tap again. Very slight ear twitch there. That's the kind of thing you're looking for. Ear twitch again, okay? So this is at a 6. And once again, we may be starting at a 6, and over time her levels could go down. I'm actually going to drop this down to a 5 and just see if we get similar reactions at a 5. There, she actually a couple of times as I was pressing the button looked down as well. So I may start off at a 5 then when I'm working her. And that's all you do. You just work up one level at a time, pressing for a few times, watching them for signs that they're feeling the collar, and that's where you'll start from that point and go from there. When you're working with your collar, just remember, if the dog is not really responding to it, try to go up on your level a little bit. If your dog is overreacting, then just drop your level some. You want to be fluid and move with what you've got going on at a given time. Now again, every dog does work at a different level, but bear in mind, if you're getting up to about 15, 20, 25, your dog's not giving any sort of reaction, make sure you check the fit of the collar, because at that point, most dogs will be feeling the collar. Some dogs do work at higher levels, but make sure that your collar is snug enough in the neck, because if it's too loose, then they're not getting that good contact with the contact points. They may not be feeling it. But then all of a sudden, they may turn a certain way that they make good contact, and your stim could be way too high as far as for what they need. So if you're getting up higher in the levels, make sure your collar's tight, make sure it's turned on. I've done that one before. Just, do some troubleshooting if you're starting to get that high. But you're also looking for consistency. If your dog is working at a little bit of a higher level, but you're getting consistent results, and then you're consistently getting less when you go down, your dog may just work at a higher level. However, if you're finding that you're at a higher level and sometimes your dog is really overreacting, but then not doing much after that, it's probably more of a fit issue with your collar. So just bear in mind when you're working with that. Hope this helps. Enjoy your remote collar training. It's a really wonderful training tool. It helps to communicate what it is you're trying to teach the dog very, very clearly. If you've ever got questions, you can always email me at behealedogtraining@gmail.com, or you can check us out on our Facebook page. We've also got tons of videos on our YouTube channel that you can follow to help you with your training.